Carl and Liam here with Getting Goosebumps. We're up to episodes 5 and 6. It's a two-parter again. Similar to The Haunted Mask at the start, we're now coming to Welcome to Camp Nightmare from season 1, directed by Ron Oliver. I will say this right now. This episode did not need to be 2. It did not. There's not enough going on.
I know, I agree with that. And how was your memory with this one? Do you remember this one at all?
Nope.
No memory at all.
Nothing at all. I wondered and I waited and I waited and I waited. And there were some camp moments where but because I've seen a lot of camp related horror, I was kind of like, well, it could just be me getting confused between this and Sleepaway Camp or something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a bit like all those other things, yeah.
It is. And it's a good episode for characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it doesn't really deliver on the horror in a direct sense. It's kind of like the, what's going on type mystery rather than direct horror.
Mystery is the right word.
I do think this one has again a really great twist.
Well, it's got 2 twists technically. 2.
Technically, yes.
And they come one after the other. And I agree with you. One twist I think is brilliant. The other I was a bit like, why are you doing that? We've just had a fucking twist, guys. We don't need that as well.
And I did M. Night Shyamalan direct this episode. God. Twists galore, man.
Yeah, so it begins with simple stuff. Bus of kids on the way to camp. But we see instantly they're being watched by some kind of animal that growls. The kids all get off the bus and find themselves in the middle of nowhere. The bus driver just starts taking stuff off. They expected to be going to a place called Camp Night Moon. The driver just ignores them flat out, gets back in the bus, and then just drives off, leaving them there with all their stuff. Obviously, the kids are like, what the hell's going on?
They're supposed to be naughty kids, I believe, aren't they?
I wondered that, right? I thought it was supposed to be a bit more like, oh, these are bad kids that have been sent to camp to sort their shit out. But it never got that throughout the actual episode.
No, it's never directly said, but I just always assumed because it's the way the camp is. It's very it's almost militant, feels kind of like that.
True.
Yeah.
Hey man, what are you doing for a backpack? Where are we? What are you doing? This isn't Camp Night Moon. It's the middle of nowhere.
Hey, Camp Nowhere. We're here. Is there something wrong with the bus? Is there anything I can help you with?
The kids hear a roar from the bushes and are scared by a beast in the bushes. And then out of the fucking blue, we just get an explosion.
I know,
big
I think
explosion.
This is hilarious opening. So again, they have their kind of fake out bit at the moment at the beginning, but this isn't technically a fake out because they are saying that it's a legit monster in the woods. Yeah, I just thought it was really funny, the whole explosion part. It's just, haven't seen any explosions really up to this point in Goosebumps. It's kind of out of nowhere. It's almost like someone wanted to have an explosion,
Yeah. Here's what we're doing it.
We're not starting cold.
Did you see that?
We didn't see a man who's holding a gun nearby. This is Uncle Al, played by Chris Benson, and he's the camp director. He is the one that mentions that this beast is a real thing, some sort of wolf thing that they call Saber.
Yeah. I thought the kids' lack of reactions also to this whole sequence is kind of hilarious because they just this next scene they're just walking through the woods quite calmly, and it's they just see that, and he just actually confirmed there's a real monster roaming around in the woods. And obviously throughout the episode they get more freaked out by it and whatnot and talk about it privately, but they just don't have the adequate reaction, in my opinion, to that whole explosion.
No, you're not wrong. So the plan is then they're basically 1 mile away from camp. It's a hike. So they're walking to camp. Obviously, they're kids. They groan, they moan. And we finally identify who the actual star of the episode is here. Because it was a bit there's a lot of faces. Who's talking? Who's doing what? But it's Billy, played by Kaj Erik Eriksen. And he talks to a girl, Dawn, as they walk. The music, the camp music that plays a lot for the episode really came to fruition here. And I didn't like it. I found it cheesy. That dump, that thing.
Yeah, see, that's where I get the whole military vibe. Because it feels like that's what it's going for, making them march and stuff.
Oh my God, did I miss a very early reference then towards the twist?
I'm not sure. Oh yeah, that's a great point because they're soldiers, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Great point, actually. Maybe the music is very intentional. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow, absolutely. The girls are then split away from the boys. The girls go off with Martha. The boys continue onwards with Uncle Al. They arrive and Al sets out 4 rules. 4 rules. No sneaking out at night. The girls' camp is out of bounds, so no panty raids. To be fair, they're kids, not teenagers. Lights out at 9, wake up at 6, and the last rule is to write home to your parents every single day. Every day, guy? I mean, some days, what you going to say?
Yeah, some of those letters are going to be short.
Billy then points out a disused cabin, and Al tells him to stay away from it, calling it the Forbidden Bunk, which is just asking for trouble.
Yeah.
And instantly, it sets you on edge where you're like, okay, well, something's in there, and we're probably going to end up in that bunk at some point at the end.
That's clearly the intention. Why else would you have a forbidden bunk if you didn't want people to go and break into it at some point?
True. One group that includes Billy going to the bunk room, and Billy sees writing on the wall, it says, Saber is hungry. Then we kind of get to know some of the other kids. One that I got to point out, because as soon as I saw him, I went, you belong in this video and this video alone. Colin, who looks like he should be in the Offspring's Pretty Fly for a White Guy video.
I always thought he kind of, that's true, I agree, he does. I always thought he kind of looks like one of the Buseys, you know, a little bit.
Oh, God.
You know, I think?
No, I didn't really, oh, God. It was the shades, the necklace, the hair.
I think he's like a really like fun character anyway, because he really plays that dickish authority figure really well. Like he's really abusing his authority, because Uncle Al is like, I like Uncle Al as well. He's quite a fun character, but he's not in it enough for me. So I think like
let me
Colin
jump in.
Really steals there.
You're talking about Larry. You're talking about Larry the counselor.
Larry? Is it
Larry the counselor? I'm talking about Billy the kid. Billy's the kid who wears black and has sunglasses.
Oh, I was talking about the counselor guy. Yes.
Yeah, we'll get to Larry.
Nobody knows much about it, but I heard he got 2 kids last summer.
You're joking, right?
Yeah. Sorry, my bad. So
no
you're
worries.
Sort of like gothic type guy.
Yeah, he looks like I said, he looks like he belongs in a 90s music video.
Oh yeah,
that kind of thing. But he says he heard Saber got killed 2 kids last year. One of the other kids, Mike, is then bitten by a snake on his bed. The others managed to get the snake outside, and they're going to take Mike to the nurse when Counselor Larry arrives. He's a dick to the kids, but he is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, as I said, abusing his power, and yeah, you can tell he's reveling in just one of those people that they get a semblant, like a small amount of like the power to hold over someone, and they really like use it to the fullest extent.
A snake! It bit Mike!
Oh man, get that out of my face. I just ate. Go wash it off. I think maybe I got a bandage.
Hey!
That night at the campfire, they're all singing a terrible song that basically is you got to be big and tough and strong, and no wimps allowed. And it's like, and it's out of tune. It's just a terrible, terrible song. Hate it.
Yeah, do you not think Larry looks a bit like a Busey?
Now you say it, I can get where he's got the foppish blonde hair.
Yeah, he's got kind of the big teeth and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, because Jake Busey, who is wonderful, one of my wonderful actor, but I can see it. Yeah, I can see like Larry looks more like his father, Gary Busey, rather than his brother, Jake. Yeah. He's not a Busey.
No.
We see the animal Saber watching from the trees. You get a lot of that where you kind of get the POV of Saber watching from the trees and growling and stuff like that. Mike is sitting separately, so Billy goes to him and gives him some food. And Uncle Al is angry that Billy was talking through the song, but finds out about the snake incident. He's then nice to Mike about it and says that he'll be fine in the morning. Yeah. I like Uncle Al.
Yeah. Fun character. Like I said, not in it enough. I would have liked to see more of Uncle Al.
Yeah. He then turns to Billy and tells the rest that Billy was great because he helped a friend. Made like camp kid number 1 or some crap like that. The boys are all heading back to the cabin and stop by the Forbidden Bunk. Here is where I quite liked the unit as a group. And they tease each other, as all groups of boys might. But there's no malice, there's no meanness, no one's getting bullied. And it's just like, hey, why don't you go in? Why don't you go in? They clearly quickly became friends. And I think it shows here more than any other point.
Look, guys, there it is.
The Forbidden Bunk.
We gotta check that baby out. You in?
I don't know. Maybe.
Don't tell me the number one camper's chicken.
I'm not a chicken.
Hey. Maybe the number one's afraid of doing a number.
Hey, that's not it. I just don't think it's a good idea, that's all.
Of course, no one actually goes. They go back to their room. Saber apparently is closing in on them. Just as they get to the door, they close it and Saber's outside. That's what it seems to be implying. Howdy didn't hear it, particularly as he howls directly afterwards. Okay. The next day, they're woken up at 6 a.m. by the trumpet of Uncle Al, and Mike is missing and all his stuff has gone. Billy goes outside, finds Mike's bandages. He looks around some more and is startled by a man who tells him to go and get his bunkmates and go to the main mess hall. Really interesting little detail here. And it's to kind of, it's again, viewer misdirection to kind of suggest that the counselors are abusing their position. And it's the food. The breakfast looks like very sticky porridge for the kids. But when you see the counselors who are all sitting at a table separately, they're all eating fry-ups, big English breakfasts.
Yeah.
Thought it was a cool touch.
Yeah.
And they're all dicks as well. They're all basically quite young boys. And they're dicks. And Billy kind of gets into it a bit with Larry. There's a bit of this Larry-Billy have a bit of an on and off feud throughout the episode, which I liked. The others presume that Mike was sent home because of the snake bite, and everyone goes out to play baseball. As Billy comes up the hit, he asks Uncle Al about Mike, but he gets blown off. Like they're constantly blowing him off. Never actually just saying like, "Oh, we went home. His bite was bad, so we sent him home," or anything like that. They're just like, "Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that."
Yeah, I think you can really like relate to the outrage that Billy is feeling. Like these authority figures just like they're not hearing him at all. Like his concerns, they're just blowing it off. And you as a viewer, you're like, what is these people's problem? You get that, you know?
Yeah, and you're kind of waiting for the penny to drop all throughout this 2 episodes of what the deal is. So like, and I will give them credit, even when that is dropped, I didn't see it coming.
Definitely not. And they do have like rational explanations about the kid with the snake bite being sent home and whatnot. So it kind of like, you're like, okay, that does make some sense, but not completely. There's something missing, you know.
So we get a bit of baseball game here, and as the game goes on, Larry, who's bitter about like losing and not getting the right call, decides to throw a ball at Colin's head. Now he's wearing a helmet, but he just outright lobs a fucking baseball at his head, knocking him out. Even though I was like, Larry,
Run!
that's not on.
It's one of those things that could be explained away, which he kind of does, doesn't he? So
He does. Uncle Al's sends Colin to the lodge to be looked over. And that night, the group, our Pacific group, are putting tents outside as part of their bonding thing. You'll sleep out in the stars and all that. It's there. Billy writes home to his parents, writes a letter. And the others, which is Jay and Roger, the other two of the group, try to talk Billy into coming up to the Forbidden Bunk, but he chooses to stay in the tent to look after Colin. That is until he hears the sound of Saber. He runs out to go check in the others, and they're coming back. But apparently Roger got killed by Saber, eaten and torn apart. And the lack of reaction made me admittedly, not suspicious. I just thought it was bad acting.
Yeah, like I said earlier about the kids' lack of reactions, and it's hard to tell, like, why that's happening. Is it bad acting or is there some other reason? But in this instance, I think it could just be bad acting.
Yeah, true. They get Colin, carrying him back into the bunks while being chased by the beast. Inside the bunk room, they get ready for a fight, and the door bursts open. Now, I did actually have a to be continued here.
Oh, yeah.
This is where the to be continued came.
I always used to hate it to be continued because watching it back on TV, they would never show the second part. Like it would be to be continued, and that'd be like the final thing they show that night. And then the next day, be 2 completely random episodes, and it wouldn't continue the story. So that was always frustrating.
The to be continued is that when the door opens, it's actually just Larry. They try to tell him what happened, but obviously he's unimpressed and doesn't believe him. He tells them he's going to tell Uncle Al and leaves. They hear Saber outside and decide to stay inside the bunks until morning with one of them on watch, which is Billy. Of course it's Billy. He's the hero.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, Billy wakes to rest up and they go out to find Uncle Al. And again, we highlighted already, but here I was like, one of your friends died, right? Like died.
Yeah. Said it was torn apart, right?
Yeah. This is you're all a bit too chill about this. In the food area, Billy stops Larry from eating and demands to see Uncle Al. Larry says he's not here, and it's pretty... Right, I wrote here in my notes. Bear in mind, I didn't know what was going to happen. I wrote, and it's pretty obvious what is going on. Do you know what I thought was going on?
Go on, what is it?
I thought Uncle Al was a werewolf.
That makes so much sense. That would make so much sense because of him not being there, suddenly disappearing.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yep.
Other than obviously the opening of him being the one that causes the explosion to try and kill Saber. But yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Or maybe some of the other authority figures are werewolves. Yeah.
That as well, because there are that as well. But I figured, the Forbidden Bunk is probably where he stays when he's becoming a werewolf. That's what I kind of thought.
I could see that.
I was well wrong. I was well fucking wrong.
Very, very wrong.
It's a trip to the lake. Forget your dead friends. We're just going to the lake. The only one who does seem concerned is Billy as he walks off saying he'll meet them at the lake, but uses it as an opportunity to try and call home. The phone is broken. And this is what Uncle Al then confronts him. There's a bit of tension between them, but Billy hides it well by basically suggesting he's homesick.
I was just trying to make a call.
To your parents.
Just to say hi.
And Uncle Al chills out and points out, look, there's no phone. They're not doing telephone wires to here. And I had to remind myself, this is mid-90s. Mobile phones weren't a thing.
Yeah, well, they could always get out of there by saying they're like in the middle of nowhere, so there's no signal. Like they love to say that, don't they? Which I'm pretty sure that's nonsense.
Horror
anyway.
101, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Billy said, is reminded to write home if he's homesick. And Uncle Al is so nice. Billy asks about Roger, which is the kid who apparently got torn apart. But Uncle Al says that kid never existed. And even I'm like, well, now you're just being super suspicious because I've been watching this, mate. And it did exist.
It did exist, yeah.
There was another theory I had, which kind of got credence at another point. I'll get to my second theory. Billy goes to the lake and shouts to Jane Colin about what he heard. They're out in a canoe without life jackets, which angers Larry. Now, this part I loved, and only loved when I saw the ending, because it shows that Larry is actually a decent guy who's acting, because he's got genuine concern of the fact they're out there without life jackets.
But then doesn't he like run away? He like runs off when they seem like they're drowning, and I thought that was quite like dark because without knowing the twist, like he just runs off knowing they could full well drown and die in that moment. Yeah.
Yep. And it is that they're out in a canoe, they end up falling into the water. Colin can't swim well. Billy goes to help. He gets in a struggle with Larry, who runs off to leave the kids alone. And I did write worst counselor ever here.
Yeah.
I was never here.
Larry!
Never saw any of this.
You can't leave them out here!
I was back at the lodge.
Larry!
I wrote, the show tries to pretend they drown as if, because bear in mind, I was doing these notes as and when, so I wrote like, they're not going to drown. But actually, Billy surfaces and they're just not there. Jay and Colin aren't there. They appear to have either just disappeared or actually drowned.
Yeah, I guess you're supposed to think that they just died right there and then.
Yeah.
It's quite serious, man.
Yeah, I was a bit like, oh, okay, I feel like an idiot now. Billy gets out of the water. Yeah, Billy gets out of the water and runs off to get help. He's running through the woods. Saber is following him, seems to be tracking him. Billy manages to escape, gets back to the camp to find it deserted. No one is there. He decides to basically get his shit together, grabs a baseball bat before finding a letter from Mike to his parents. And as he walks around, he finds more and more letters are strewn about the place that kids were supposed to have sent. And it all leads to the Forbidden Bunk. So I started to think, my second theory was here, that it was Billy was the problem and that he was mental and he was imagining all of this.
If they ever remade this, I reckon that's how they'd remake it. That exact thing. I wonder why the letters were, what was the purpose of writing the letters? I can't remember if he mentions it in the end, Uncle Al, the purpose of actually doing the letters at all.
I can only think it was so when he went to the Forbidden Bunk, he would find the letters as he does. And that would be like another thing for him have to the test.
As part of the test, yeah.
Yeah, and Dawn's there and how he reacts to that.
Yeah, because they congratulate him, don't they? And
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
Well, inside the Forbidden Bunk, it's a mess, of course. There's a rat scare, Oh, rat. Rat looks fine.
Another trope.
Yeah. He's then confronted by Dawn, who says that she's run away from her camp, as her camp has been going through the exact same stuff his camp has been. They then hear a noise and find all the letters that were supposed to have been sent to their parents dating back years and years.
I wrote this the first day I came.
Some of them are from years ago.
They then hear the whistle of Uncle Al being blown, and outside, Billy sees the counselors and Uncle Alan army gear with a load of kids as well. He tells Dawn to stay hidden and goes to look, but is grabbed by Larry. He's then brought to Uncle Al. Billy confronts him, who demands he gets in line. It's gone very army-like. Like, you will get in line, you will do this, you will do that kind of thing, All the boys are then given weapons, crossbows, to hunt down Dawn. And all the boys are like, yeah, no worries, let's get in the guns. Billy's the only one who stands up. But Al points out, look, we're not trying to kill her. It's just tranquilizers. And it's still like, no, dude, that's not okay at all.
Are you saying we're supposed to shoot her?
That's what I said, Billy. She broke the big rule.
No, this is insane. You can't just go killing people.
Killing? Who said anything about killing? These weapons are loaded with tranquilizer darts. We want to stop the girl, not kill her.
So Billy, defying Al, points the gun at Uncle Al. Al once again points out that they have no campers by the names that Billy says have gone missing. Billy calls him a liar, they stand off, and then Billy shoots him with the dart. And I was a bit like, shit's gone down. I didn't know I had no clue where this episode was going, like what was going to happen. I had no clue.
You couldn't possibly like predict where it's going, honestly.
No, it really is a fucking it's a twist.
That's the thing.
Then get to it.
Go on, you go for it.
Well, Al declares that Billy passed. He smiles and cheers and says, Billy has passed, and everybody cheers, including Larry, who's like, oh, well done, Billy, mate. Great stuff. I was like, the fuck is going on here? And then like everyone just shows up. Al brings out Billy's parents to reveal that he was being tested at a government testing lab. All the kids that disappeared, Dawn, they were all in it. They all revealed themselves. Even Saber was just an animatronic being controlled by someone else.
Congratulations, Billy. He passed! Billy passed!
Way to go, Billy. You did great.
Hey, you can all come out now. He passed!
Mom, Dad, what are you guys doing here?
Wow.
They went all out for that experiment, man. Really hardcore.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the only issue is it's such sketchy reasoning for why. Because basically his parents, we heard at the very start, go on long trips, exploration, excavation and stuff like that. And he can't come along and so on. So basically they've gone on a really long trip and they want to bring Billy with them because they think they'll be gone too long. And but the government wouldn't let them apparently unless he had passed the tests. So this is what all this was, for him to be passing his tests. And the tests were things like courage, empathy, things like that, the things he'd done throughout it.
Yeah, it's elaborate.
It's elaborate, it's enjoyable, and like Billy, rather than being like, are you fucking kidding me, you bunch of psychopaths, it's just like, oh, cool. Yay.
Yeah, it's just, I think this is another great example on an episode of just misdirection, When it first starts out, you think it's one thing. You think it's just like I said, like a bunch of bad kids being sent off to summer camp to be like straightened out. And then by the end, it just like changes everything. And then you almost want to go back and rewatch it to appreciate like the nuances and the little hints towards the actual like outcome, like you said, with Larry actually being concerned when they're in the war and stuff like that, or the music maybe, But I think it's a bit of it's crazy because did you mention the part where they're pretty much mentioned to be aliens also from like a separate planet?
Well, this is twist number 2, isn't it? And tell us twist number 2.
Well, I'm fairly certain Uncle Al basically says that they are being trained as soldiers and they are clearly on a different planet because they're going to be sent off to Earth,
You see it.
which is in the sky. So they're obviously quite close to Earth because they can see it. I'm not sure what planet they're on, but
Better go get your things packed, Billy. Expedition leaves first thing in the morning.
Where are we going?
Very far away. A place called Earth.
Research tells us the aliens there are pretty dangerous and unpredictable.
Bet you they're not as crazy as Larry and Uncle Al.
You never know, Billy.
but yeah, I mean, R.L. Stein is a madman. Clearly, I mean, he wasn't satisfied. You know, you could say it's a scientific experiment. Then he reveals Saber's a puppet. Okay, that's 2 twists. It's like, you know what? We got to take this up a notch, man. Aliens from another planet who are being trained as soldiers to invade Earth. How do you come up with that? And that's what I was going to say about like the twists. Like, as much as I do think it's a great twist, sometimes you have to be like, there's no way I could possibly predict that because it's so ridiculous. So does that make it like a good twist? That's kind of like the whole Shyamalan thing a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a twist for twist's sake almost, even though it's like unpredictable as hell. But is it good that it's unpredictable? Because there's no way you could predict it.
No. No.
Yeah.
This is more than any other one that we've done so far. This is one where I can hound my hand up and say, I had no fucking clue. Like I said, I had 2 theories. Both were completely wrong. And instead we got this double.
Your theory was just too simple, man. You weren't thinking big enough.
Apparently not.
But no, I thought I like the actor who played Billy in this. I think he like does a good job of acting really outraged about what's going on, and you really do feel it'll put you in his shoes of how you would feel in that situation, and it's scary. You know, you can imagine being in that because as a young child, you got these authority figures. You know what it's like. We've all been in school and stuff, and teachers have authority over you, and there's nothing you can really do about it. You're a child. You've got to listen to what, do what you're told. So that's scary when adults, you know, they use their power for bad things potentially. But then obviously that's not what they're doing anyway. So
yeah, and I mean elsewhere, it's a strong cast overall. The adults, like some Uncle Al and Larry, do their roles really, really well. And the friends around Billy, like I said earlier on, the character development, very short amount of time to do it. I got the impression that they'd all become good friends.
yeah, that's the thing with these episodes. Sometimes you have to sit back and like remember how like condensed they really are into such short run times, and they manage to tell these like complete stories with like characters that are like developed slightly, which is better than like some feature-length movies manage to do. You know, you really do like get to know them quite well in like the space of 20 minutes. You know, which is it's really smart. They managed to do the beginning, middle, and then have this twisty end, and it's like done all that in like such a short amount of time. It's quite impressive.
Agreed. Yeah, for all its flaws, I think it still stands up quite nicely.
Yeah, like you said, probably didn't need to be 2 parts. Maybe they could have like shrunk it down even further. I'm not really a fan of the 2-part thing.
No, same.
Yeah.
I like the 20-minute, 22-minute blocks rather than 44 minutes, you know?
Yeah, that makes it a little bit less impressive when they have to stretch it out so far, you know?
Agreed.
Yeah.
There you go then. That is Welcome to Camp Nightmare, episodes 5 and 6. Do you share our thoughts on it, or you've got a different take on it? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts, and of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal, what else is life for?